today. Okay. And I'll leave it up to Sam once you think most people have filled it out. We'll end the poll and share the results. But it looks like quite a few people from Oregon and Washington and Alaska, not so much from Idaho, but maybe some of our friends from Idaho will join, and a few folks from outside of Region 10. Okay, awesome. So moving on, just before we dive into our story, just a few reminders. Oops. We are live streaming and recording this webinar. Please rename yourself to guest and have your camera off if you don't want your information shown, but we do love seeing all your faces. This is really exciting. And closed captioning should be available. It might not be available yet. The closed captioner is in the room. So I believe Sam is going to drop the information in the chat box shortly. Oh, she just did. Thanks, Sam. So you can click that link if you want to receive closed captioning as well. You can spotlight the ASL interpreter as well as anyone else like the speakers, but our friend and teammate Tanya will be helping do that throughout the presentation. The slides and resources will be sent out after. We did send some information beforehand, so hopefully you got that email. If you didn't, let us know, email us after this event. And just a reminder to please treat this environment with respect. This is supposed to be a really fun and informational experience, and we want everyone to feel safe and comfortable. And please remember that children are present, including my family, which is really exciting to see my family on here. So hi. Okay, let's dive in. So setting the scene. It's a Tuesday night, and Connor and Emily just ate dinner with their family. Connor is about to finish his homework before playing video games, and Emily is playing with the family cat before bedtime. Suddenly, they hear a loud rumbling, and the ground starts to shake. There was a loud rumbling, and the ground starts to shake. It felt like the shaking lasted for a very long time, where in reality, it was just a few minutes. So now we're going to rely on you in the chat to answer some of our questions. We're going to make sure this is fun and engaging throughout. What is going on? Put your guess in the chat. Someone said earthquake. Yep, earthquake. Any other guesses? Earthquake, fairly large. Earthquake, earthquake. Okay, I think the consensus is earthquake. You are correct. So now that we know that it's an earthquake, what should Connor and Emily do? Put that in the chat as well. It's okay if you don't know, take a guess. This is why we're all here to learn. Grab the cat and shelter. Get under the table doorway. Get under the table. Duck in. There's so many great guesses here. And what you should do is to drop, cover, and hold on. And our friend Kiana is going to go into this more in a minute. But just a reminder that when an earthquake happens, it feels like a big shake. Out of curiosity, use your, emoji or some reaction here if you've been through an earthquake. Has anyone experienced an earthquake before? You can use, I see some thumbs up. Yep, I remember going through several earthquakes growing up here. We are in earthquake territory in the Pacific Northwest. There's lots of fault lines around, but that's not to scare you. It's just important to know what to do. So the ground will feel like it's rolling under you and you might get a little dizzy. The stronger the earthquake, the more noticeable it will be. So make sure to get down so you don't fall over. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our friend Kiana to take it away with explaining more on how to stay safe in an earthquake. Kiana, it's all you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kiana. And if you answered drop, cover, and hold on to the last question, give yourselves a pat on the back. I am so proud of you. That is the safest thing to do in an earthquake. So now look to mom and dad or the other adults in your house. Did they answer that question right? They might not have, because they were actually taught something different when they were your age. But now you're probably practicing this in school. So you know the right thing to do in an earthquake is to drop, cover, and hold on. Now, in an earthquake, it can be kind of scary, kind of sudden, and we might not know what to do. And sometimes our first reaction is to go running out of wherever we are. And that is not safe. We don't want to do that. What we should always do in an earthquake is drop, cover, and hold on. Now, as you see on your screen, my dog, Captain, he learned how to drop, cover, and hold on. So would you like to meet Captain? And would you like to see him perform for you his drop, cover, and hold on skills? Because I think he would like to show you here tonight. So give me 1 second as I call him over, and he'll be showing you how to drop, cover, and hold on. To drop, cover, and hold on. So now we are all going to practice, because an earthquake could happen at any time. So we need to be prepared. The best way to be prepared is by practicing. That way your brain and your body knows exactly what to do when the ground starts to shake. So this is the table that I'm going to be practicing. So I want you to look around wherever you are right now. Look where you are and see, is there a desk or a table, something else that's sturdy that you can practice how to drop, cover, and hold on beneath. So I'll give you a minute, look around. You might need to pull your adults off the couch. Everyone on your feet for this. We're all going to practice together what to do in an earthquake. Give you a few more seconds. I'm going to head to the other side of the table. I hope everyone is on your feet and ready to practice what to do. Now, if you're still getting a few more adults up off the couch, kids, keep pulling at them, get them up. If you'd like to practice with millions of people around the world, join us for the Great Shakeout on October 21st this year. Go to shakeout.org to get all the information, and you can register your family as participating. It's an awesome drill where millions of people practice this very thing that we're going to practice here tonight. Okay, so now that everyone is up on your feet, find that sturdy piece of furniture that you're going to practice, and we're going to do this all together. Remember, the steps are to drop. That means getting down to the ground. You're going to cover, so you're going to hold your head and neck and protect yourself while you get under something sturdy or next to something sturdy if there isn't a desk or a table to get under. And then you're going to hold on. So those are the 3 steps: drop, cover, and hold on. So we're going to do it all together on the count of 3. Ready? 3, 2, 1. We're going to drop, cover ourselves beneath something sturdy, protect our head and neck, and then we're going to hold on. Now give yourselves a round of applause if you just did that. Way to go. Practicing for an earthquake is so important. That way, when one happens, your brain and your body know exactly what to do, and you'll drop, cover, and hold on. Now, what about if you're not at home? You just practiced what to do in this room that you're in right now. But what if you're not in this room where you practiced? What if you're at school or at the store or maybe camping in a tent? You never know where you might be when an earthquake strikes, because we can't prevent them and we can't predict them and we don't know where they're going to happen. So it's so important that you are ready and prepared for an earthquake wherever you are. So think about where you go, and the next time you go somewhere new, like camping in a forest, think about how you can drop, cover, and hold on in that place. Now, after an earthquake, there are 3 things you want to do right away. The first one is to check yourself. Make sure you're not hurt or bleeding or injured. Make sure you're okay. The next thing to do is to check the people around you and make sure they're okay and they're not hurt either. And then the last thing is the place you're in might not be safe. So you'll want to protect yourself to keep yourself safe, because there could be other aftershocks or broken glass or other broken things on the floor that you'll want to stay safe from. So make sure you have some good shoes to protect your feet. Don't go outside barefoot. Make sure you have something to protect your hands in case there's broken glass or dishes or other broken things that could hurt you. Now, I want you to look around wherever you are. Look around your room or your tent, wherever you are. And I want you to find one thing that might be a hazard in an earthquake. That means maybe it's something really heavy that's up high and it could fall down and hurt someone. Or maybe some dishes or glasses in a kitchen cupboard that could come flying out at you. Or maybe it's a tall, heavy bookshelf that could tip over. All of these things, when an earthquake happens, could move. They could go rolling and tipping over and falling and flying, and all those things could hurt you. So look around your room right now, find that one thing, and then this weekend, do a scavenger hunt with the whole family. I want you to go every room in your house and find hazards like this that you can fix. And they can be so simple, like moving heavy things down to a lower place, or strapping things to the wall so they can't fall over. Do a scavenger hunt this weekend, and that will keep you and your family safe before an earthquake happens. Thank you so much for joining me on learning about our earthquake safety tonight, and back to Alyssa with our story.
Great, thanks so much, Kiana. There are a few questions if you can answer them, or do you want to answer them later, Kiana?
I can do them now, that's fine.
Someone asked, how long do you drop, cover, and hold on for? I mean, how long after the shaking stops? That's a good question.
You almost answered the question. You want to stay in your drop, cover, hold on position until the shaking stops. At that point, you want to get up and evaluate where you are. That's that third step, and make sure where you're at is still a safe place to stay. And if it's not, then you'll want to move somewhere else. If you're on the coast, 3 of our states border the coast, make sure you evacuate right away because a tsunami could be coming.
Thanks, Kiana. And one more question. What if all I have is my bed? So what are you supposed to do if you're in bed when an earthquake happens?
You know, that's actually the best to be. It's one of the safest places to be in an earthquake. So if you're in bed, if you're asleep, just stay right there. You can roll over, put the pillow over your head to protect your head and neck, and then just hang on. It's the best place to be.
Great. Thanks, Kiana. And thank you, Captain. What a good job. Great job, Captain the dog. Okay, let's continue on with our story. I failed to mention that this is the book I'm reading from. If you can tell, it's called Our Preparedness Adventure. Let's Prepare Together. So continuing on. So when the danger has passed, Emily and Connor exclaimed, luckily we were all together at home when this happened. What would we have done if we were at school? They asked their parents. Their parents say, that's a great question. Your school has emergency plans, and we know how to get messages and updates from them after an emergency, which will tell you where and when to come meet you. We all want to make sure everyone remains safe. This is a good reminder for parents, guardians, and kids to be familiar with emergency plans for wherever they spend a lot of time. After checking each other and their home, Emily and Connor's parents text their out-of-area contact, Uncle Larry, to let him know they were okay. Uncle Larry lived across the country in New York. It was easier to text or call him than someone closer by, since he lived in a different area that was not impacted by the earthquake. It's important to have an out-of-area contact. So take a minute and make sure you know who your out-of-area contact is, and do they know that they're your out-of-area contact? Share in the chat. Don't give us their contact info, but if you have an Uncle Larry or an Aunt Sue or a friend in a different state to be your out-of-area contact, feel free to share that in the group just to show you have someone. An Aunt Joy, great. And if you don't have an out-of-area on contact, definitely work on that with your family and your friends. Oh, a best man, grandma out of state. I see my sister put Uncle Larry. I'm glad we're on the same page. And we do practice that drill with our Uncle Larry. So we've texted him and called him to make sure he's well aware. Okay, continuing on with the story. Emily and Connor are about to continue the activities that they had been doing before the earthquake when all of a sudden they hear a really loud screeching noise. Do you hear that noise? Do you hear it, or is it just me that hears it? Okay, I see some nods. They thought, what is it now? Is it an aftershock? But no, it was different, and they smelled and saw smoke. So what should they do since they smelled and saw smoke? Sam, if you can put the poll up, that would be great. The options, so there's option A, which is, what's that noise? Connor runs to grab his video games and Emily follows him. Or option B, that's the smoke alarm. Connor grabs his sister's hand and they run toward the front door. So take a minute. Looks like many people have filled out option B. We'll give it a few more seconds. Okay, but it looks like option B has won. So I'm going to go ahead and click on option B. Awesome job, everyone. That is correct. That's the smoke alarm. Connor grabs his sister's hand and they run toward the front door. So now I'd like to welcome my friend Ian from the Red Cross to talk about the importance of testing your smoke alarm. And in fact, you're going to get the chance to test out how to do this. Ian, it's all you.
Thanks, Alyssa. So I want to start off with a question for the group, and we'll get answers in the chat. Why is it important to test our smoke alarms? I'll give that just a moment, and everybody should be able to see. I have my alarm here, and we'll test it out together before having you all participate in your activity. Absolutely, batteries run down. These don't work forever, right? As a matter of fact, alarms usually only last about 10 years, and that's including their shelf life. It's including if you move into a new home and it's already installed on your ceiling. So it's really important to make sure that we test our alarms. We want to test our alarms monthly, making sure, again, that the batteries are working, and we never, ever disable these smoke alarms. Perhaps you've had circumstances where if there's cooking and there's a little bit of smoke from the stove and the alarm goes off and it's something of a false alarm, what you want to do is actually push on some alarms, there's a hush or a silent button, and that will allow the alarm to stop, and you usually have to wave the smoke away from the alarm, otherwise it will continue to go off. But we're going to make sure that our alarms are constantly working, and that we're replacing our batteries as well every 6 months. So typically whenever we change our clocks forward or backwards, spring forward or fall back, we're changing the batteries. There are alarms actually, and I'm seeing it in the chat, for alarms that are, there are some alarms that exist now that are 10 years and they're tamper resistant. So there's no battery in the back of the alarm as you would identify with a 9-volt battery. So there are alarms that are available that are strictly good for 10 years, and you don't need to worry about changing those batteries. You're actually going to dispose of the alarm entirely if you're testing it, or if you're hearing a chirp, right? There's sometimes that the alarm will chirp on its own, and that's just a warning that the battery is running low. So there are a lot of different types of alarms. We mentioned the 10-year smoke alarm. There's also 9-volt smoke alarms. There's also bed shaker alarms for those that might be deaf and hard of hearing. So you can imagine if somebody is asleep and they can't hear the alarm, that this particular alarm will shake the pillow underneath to wake this person if the alarms in the house are going off, and it will detect the sound and wake that person up. So there's also hardwired alarms. And for those, it's really important to make sure that they're in working order. And they usually alert the entire home if it's newer construction or the entire building. So all smoke alarms, again, should be replaced after 10 years or earlier, depending upon the frequency of testing and of course, whether the battery is working or not. I'm going to scroll through and just see what some of the questions might be here before we get into the activity. So I see one question: do you have to replace the unit every 10 years or keep changing the battery? You absolutely want to replace the entire unit because there are elements inside of the unit that are no longer functioning after that length of time. All right, so the alarm I have here is an example. I'm going to go ahead and push the button to test, and all alarms should have some means of indicating what button to push in order to test. So I'll push mine. It's really loud, so it should be able to alert me or wake me up when something could be occurring. And we're going to take a moment to allow you all, I think 2 minutes is what we'll put up on the clock to allow everybody to test their own alarms. Please be safe. Do not get up on a chair with wheels. And if you have a broomstick to be able to push the button, go ahead and test your alarms now, and we'll give everybody 2 minutes to test their alarms. All right, and we're getting some chat indicating that they are very loud. Pets don't typically like them. I know that I have friends with pets, and it is something of a shock. And it sounds like we did freak some people out, and that's okay. Just an exercise, just a drill. Thanks for your feedback here. Sounds like for the most part, everybody chatting inside of the conversation is indicating that the smoke alarms are working out well. So really appreciate everybody's time in that little exercise to get up and stretch and push the button and test your smoke alarms. If you have any questions or if you have any smoke alarm needs after this call or would like some home education from the Red Cross, there is a website you can go to register with your local Red Cross, and that's soundthealarm.org. That's great, Claudine. Wonderful to see. Thank you. And we'll hand
Great.
it back to Alyssa. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Ian, and good job for everyone who tested their smoke alarms. I know I did, and it is very startling, but it's important to make sure those batteries are still working and to do that regularly. Okay, so where were we in this story? Let's see. Connor, Emily, and their parents get to the front door at the same time. They quickly grab their go bag, which is right near the door as they head outside. Give a quick reaction if you all have a go bag, which we'll talk about more soon. Give a thumbs up. Okay, I see some. Awesome, awesome, awesome. They stand next to the big tree in the front yard like they had practiced before. They hear the sirens of the fire trucks coming. Aside from their go bag, all of their things are inside their house, including their cat. So what should they do next? Option A, everyone should stay in their meeting place and tell the firefighters that their cat is still inside. Or option B, someone should go back inside and rescue the cat and Connor's video games. So Sam, I believe, is going to put up the, she just put up the poll. So please take a minute to answer that, and then we'll discuss what the right answer is. Looks like option A is the popular vote. So I am going to click option A, and you are correct. Everyone should stay in their meeting place and tell the firefighters that their cat is still inside. That meeting place is that safe place that you've discussed ahead of time with your family. So it's important to stay there until the firefighters let you know it's okay to go back inside. Definitely not option B, even though we love the cat, and hopefully, guess what? The cat is okay. The firefighters bring the cat outside and she is okay. Phew. No one sees any flames, but the smoke alarms are still blaring. Suddenly, the alarms stop and it seems too quiet. The firefighters come back outside and tell the family the good news. There was no fire. While dinner had been baking in the oven, some food fell on the bottom of the oven and everyone left the kitchen. The burned food started to smoke, and that's what had set off the smoke alarm. Who here has burned their food and caused their smoke alarms to go off? Show of hands or reactions, because I definitely have. Yeah. And it's important to make sure to put the smoke alarm back in place if you've taken it off. That's for the parents and the guardians. So the family is very relieved. And then they talk about how great they all did at escaping so fast and staying safe in case there had been an actual fire. I want to know from all of you, what do you think the family did well, given this whole scenario we just went through? Why don't you put in the chat what they did well for the fire drill or the going to the meeting place? Leanna, everything. Okay, what else? Good. Getting out safely. They lived, responded immediately. Better safe than sorry. And you know what? It was a great practice because if there was an actual fire, they did the right thing. Yeah, so thanks for the feedback. This is awesome. So here's a few things we felt they did well. They left the house quickly when they heard the alarm. They took their go bag with them. They met at their safe meeting place. They waited for first responders to arrive and check out the house. So they did a really good job. It's important to know the exits wherever you spend a lot of time. So why don't you take 2 minutes? Actually, we're going to give you 1 minute for the sake of time and map out your home fire escape plan. And so this is an example. You should have 2 exits from each room you're in. Ideally 2 doors, but most rooms that might be a door and a window. And so it's important to think through this. What if you are upstairs? Do you have a way to get out safely? Is there a fire escape window if you can't use the door? So think through this. We did send out a PDF before this event with a bunch of resources, and we'll send it out after as well. And here's one of the pages that is in that document, and it's an example of a model home map that you can use to trace out your exits in your home. So with that, even though this says 2 minutes, we're going to give you 1 minute. So take a minute to talk with your family and make sure you know how you would at least get out of the room you're currently in if there was a fire. Okay, we'll come back in a minute. Oops. Okay, 5 more seconds. I see some good conversation in the chat as well. Okay, so hopefully you talked through that with your family about how you would at least exit from the room you're currently in. And this weekend, do add this to your homework along with doing that home hazard scavenger hunt and looking around what might fall during an earthquake. Also make sure you know your escape plan and how you would exit your house if there's a fire. So we've talked a bit about a meeting place. A meeting place is a safe location that you could meet with household members or friends. It's important to have one near your house in case of an emergency. Adults, it's important to think through another meeting spot further away for different scenarios. For instance, if there is a flood and you cannot meet in your neighborhood near your house, where can you meet? Do you know where to pick up your kids if they're at school? Make sure to know the plans in place with the school emergency plans. And of course, what is that meeting spot near your house in case of a local emergency, such as a house fire? So we'd like you to take a minute now to discuss your meeting place. We just talked about your exit plans if you have to leave your house quickly. Do you know where you would then meet your parents or guardians if you're not all together as you're leaving your house? So take a minute. Here's some examples if you want ideas. There might be a mailbox near your house but not attached to your home. There might be a tree out front. Make sure if you do need to cross the street to do that safely and to talk to your parents and guardians when you're talking through this scenario of how to do that. There may be local community meeting spots. I see someone in the chat said they have 3 meeting places for at home and 3 meeting places for at school. That's awesome. It might be another family member's house or a trusted neighbor's home. So go ahead and take 1 minute to talk through this with someone at your home. Five more seconds. Okay, so I hope that you talked through your meeting place and that you now know where you are to meet your parents or guardians if you didn't know beforehand. So with that, back to the story. I promise it is coming to a close soon. But meanwhile, the family still has their go bag with them. Remember that? Which is the backpack full of important items. I'm now going to turn this over to my friend Tanya to take it from here and talk about what might be in their bags. Tanya, it's all you.
Hi, everyone. So we're going to talk about what goes into an emergency kit. So when we're looking at an emergency kit, it's something that's going to help you, just survive for a little bit. It's going to have a couple of items. So I want to talk about some of the items that should go into that kit. Go on to the next slide, please. So if you guys can put into the chat, what are some items that you think should go into an emergency kit? Flashlight, food, water, those are great guesses. First aid, so maybe a first aid kit. Money, that's a good one. A lot of people do forget money. Toilet paper is a good one. Extra clothes, yeah, that's really good. Medicine, yes. Wow, these are really great guesses. Can we start unveiling some of the ones that we have up there? Yes, so we want to make sure that we have food, we want to have water, we want to have at least a little bit for all the members in your household. When we talk about having something that can safely light your way, we talk about flashlights with batteries, and you want to make sure you're switching out those batteries so that they're always working. A first aid kit, a radio, and that can be a crank radio or a battery radio. They're really helpful, so in case we do lose signal or we do lose power, you still know what's going on and if it's safe to come out. Cash, you want to make sure you have cash on hand. Oftentimes if the power does go out or something does happen, ATMs or even stores will lose their ability to use your card or be able to read any of your cards at all. So you won't be able to pull cash or pay for stuff. And then as we see the little teddy bear there, we want to make sure we have a comfort item. And when we talk about comfort items, it's something simple. It's not your video games. It's not something that takes a lot of time to bring with you. It's like a deck of cards, something that's going to keep you entertained, and it might help you just feel a little bit safer, like a blanket. And then the last thing I want to introduce everyone to is my dog, Dante. He is my heart and soul. And if I were to evacuate somewhere and I had to go, I would take him, but I would also make sure that in my bag, we would have maybe a leash, maybe his harness, a little bag of food, and anything that he might need. Maybe he has some medications. We also want to make sure that we have his medications in there for us. And that is also that's also when we talk about ourselves. We want to make sure we have our own medications or whatever needs that our family or our household has. We want to make sure that those are available in that go kit. So this is a great activity that you can do at home. It's called the Preparedness Kit Checklist. So when you look at when we're going to send this out, and it's going to have this document in there, and you can actually download it onto your computer. It works best on your computer, and it will actually add everything up on there. And it just gives you kind of some of the basic items on the left, and then the additional items on the right for what you should start a go kit with. As you can see there, this person does not have everything. And that's okay. We don't have to start. We don't have to start with everything. I know it can be an expense, but it's easy to get, maybe like a can of one single can of food, maybe like a bottle of water, and just slowly add to your emergency kit as you go. And you can see how prepared you can be over time.
And I do see in the chat, someone asked about the kit link, if we can share it. So we'll be sending out this PowerPoint afterwards. I don't know if we're able to put the link in the chat right now, but you'll definitely get the slides later, and you'll get the PDF of this checklist scorecard attached. So stay tuned for that. Great, thanks so much, Tanya. Okay, back to the story. There's just a few pages left. Like Connor and Emily's family learned, emergencies and disasters can happen anytime, and they can happen quickly. It's a good thing Connor and Emily had learned how to be safe in an emergency and that they had practiced with their family. You can help other people learn how to be safe too. We want to know what is something that you can do to help your family be safe in an emergency. So take a minute and put some ideas in the chat. Oh, and Sam just put the Preparedness Kit scorecard in the chat as well. So you can download that. Make sure to download it and save it if you want it to calculate the score at the bottom. And it's just a fun activity that you can share with others. Go bags for Christmas and for presents. Make the house fireproof. Talk to family about the plan. Memorize phone numbers or have some written down. There's a lot of great feedback in the chat. Thank you so much for sharing this. And we encourage you to do one of these things, if not more, in the next few days while this is fresh on your mind, because it's easy to put preparedness off because we're all very busy. Okay, I could keep reading these all day, but for the sake of time, and feel free to keep going in the chat, here are some ideas that we have. Learn how to call 911, make an emergency kit for your pet, practice texting your out-of-area contact, and practice how to drop, cover, and hold on in case of an earthquake. And before we do the final page of the book, we just want to let you know that you have a lot of these friends that you can contact with follow-up questions. Here's specific people and contact info for each of the states within Region 10, as well as with the Red Cross and FEMA Region 10. So please reach out if you have any questions. And we are so appreciative that we have all these friends in Region 10, because this is really a team sport, preparedness. And so that, we want to really thank you for joining us on our adventure tonight. We hope you had as much fun as we did. You are all now super safety heroes, and you can help your friends learn how to be safe in an emergency. For parents and adults, find activities, games, resources, and more at ready.gov/kids. And we hope you have a really safe evening. And please be in touch with us. We'll stick around for a few minutes if people want to stay on and ask us questions. This can conclude the live streaming of the event, but we'll stick around, and feel free to stay on if you have additional questions. And we hope you had a great time with us and have a good rest of the evening, and happy preparing, everyone.